Okay, so as promised, I'm going to show you how to set up the hula hoop very quickly to weave your rug. I have everything here that I need, including my little strips of tape all ready for me. And here are my 10 strips of t-shirt. And I think I mentioned in an email, you don't need to use strips of t-shirts. There's also this here is the stuff they used to weave around hangers. You can use this and just wrap around your hula hoop and tie it together, and also tape that into place. You can use just a piece of yarn as well. For pot holders, it might be better to just use yarn because it's thinner and it won't give such a thick project. So I'll start with the t-shirt strips, and the first thing you're going to do is create a cross to mark the center of your hula hoop. My hula hoop's kind of lopsided here, but that won't matter. So once I have the center, we can start thinking of it in terms of sections. So we have our quarters here, and we're going to make sure we have 8 more strips here, 10 in total, and we're going to put 4 in each section. And then we'll have our spokes. So we'll start like this, and we're going to cross in the center every time. And this distance should equal the same distance here. Some t-shirts might be a little bit bigger. If your t-shirt is too big for your hula hoop, just pull on it, tie a knot here, and there you go. It'll fit fine. This one is perfect for this size. So that's one section where I put the 4. Now we'll come over here and do the next section with 4. Where's that? Someone texting you? I like to work with holding my work, but if you can do this with the hoop lying down flat as well, whatever's easier for you. One last section. Now I've done many of these so far, so I'm very quick at it now, but my first one took me a long time to set up, so be patient and you'll get it. So now you see the center, it looks like a bicycle wheel. What we're going to do is tape our pieces into place so they don't move on us while we're weaving. But you need to remember we need an odd number to weave, and right now we have an even number, so we need to put 2 spokes together somewhere. And I'm going to put these 2 because they seem to be closer together. So I'll put these 2 together, then that will give me my odd number of spokes going around. Now that they're all taped into place, I will have my bicycle wheel. To make it easier, this isn't necessary, but I recommend it because it'll get you off to a better start. Take a short piece of yarn, find, where's my 2 spokes right here. We'll use that as our starting point all the time. You're going to tie this around, and I've used white so you could see it well against the brown. Tie a knot around here. then we're going to start our weaving. So we're going to over the next spoke, under, over, then under, over, then under, over, under, and you're going to do that all around. So you'll have almost like a spider web, and you're going to do that twice. You're going to pull the yarn really tight. This is what we want to see our center get nice and close and bunched up. So now we're going to go over and under a second time around, but you should notice that if you're going under this time, it's because last time you went over it. So it should be the opposite on each spoke. If it's not, then you've made a mistake somewhere. And once we get around a second time, we'll pull tight and we'll just tie it together. You can tie it to the spoke or just tie the pieces of yarn together. And you can snip those tails off or you can weave them in afterwards. So that's how we set up our hula hoop for weaving. It's a little bit off center, but that's okay. Now the next step would be to start your weaving with your knitting, and I'm going to start with a short piece of black. I've planned my colors and I want a little tiny bit of a black circle in the center. So I'm going to still start over here with my double spoke. Just tie it onto the spoke here. And bring your tail to the back of your work. And you're going to do the same thing. Knit over, under, over and under. And you're going to do that all around. And then you'll just bring it as close to the center as you can. And you'll keep going with all your knitting. You want to leave it loose enough though to kind of look like it's looping in and out. If you do it too tight, it'll look kind of like a straight line, and then you won't, you'll end up with a bowl when you're done. I did that. My very first rug turned into a bowl. So we don't want bowls, unless you want a bowl. So now that I've got this little itty bitty bit here, I'm going to attach my strands of finger knitting by, the best way I found is to stick the one end into the loops here of your finger knitting, then stick the end of this finger knitting into the loops here. If you don't have tails, that's fine. You can just attach your finger knitting together, tie them into a knot. Then you don't have a space in between finger knitting. It's one strand. And then we'll go on with the next color. Over and under. Just bring your tails in the back and we'll worry about those when we're done weaving. See how it's nice and loose, and I'm just bringing it to the center. So you get these nice kind of poofs that are going around the spokes. You want it nice and pluff. And we keep going. I'm going to show you, I'm going to make a mistake on purpose to show you what it'll look like if a mistake is made. So say I accidentally went over 2 and I kept weaving for a while. What you're going to see is it's just, it won't look right. You'll see spokes kind of on top of your work, and you'll notice you should never see these. They should always be hidden. Now if I kept weaving all the way up to the top, they would always be on top of your work. You never want to see them. That's the part that's hidden. So if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You want to always be watching for them. If your work starts to look funny, always backtrack and see. You can see right here, I went over 2. So you just undo your work until you find that spot. You can't leave it in there. If you do, you won't end up with a rug. It'll just be a mess of a work after. So you just undo your work, go back and you correct it, and that's it. We've had a lot of corrections that had to be done here in the green home, but not a big deal. So I'm going to continue weaving this, and when I get to a certain size, I'm going to I'll start another clip on how to separate the spokes. Okay, we'll see you in a bit.